books left enough. देखिए बैग है ये वो ऐसे स्टेज से चल गया
युवराज इधर पास कर उधर
yes बेटा बारी गाड़ी मैं तो it's over new student from old class क्या उसकी क्या कुछ नहीं नो ये मैं नहीं तो नहीं चलेगी
अभी
I am seeking God
मैंने सिर्फ most regular
युवराज तेरे क्लास के बाहर है
क्यों
बच्चा है
ये इनका क्या है
बच्चा है
मेरे को डांस के बारे में से नहीं बोलना चाहिए
चल
और मैंने टीच हुआ नहीं हूँ मैं आज तो कभी
सच्ची
नहीं कहा
मैंने देखा है इसको हैदराबाद में लिट्टी चोखा
लिट्टी चोखा
इनका तो बहुत
खाता है ना कितने दिनों से
बहुत टाइम का है
ये मेरे को पता
मुझे 90 बोल के नहीं जाएगा कैंसिल होगा ये मलेशिया में कश्मीर शिवराज कश्मीर
अरे आज से नहीं
भाई ये
ज्यादा बढ़ गया भाई ये ड्रिप का ज्यादा
मेरे को एक ही लेक्चर
हाँ भाई वो होता है तो मैंने इसको दिया
एक ही लेक्चर दे दो
अबे दो ही है तू नीचे ना
मैं तो
पूरा
भरा है
इशू करते
अगर वो पूछी तो उसको बोलेंगे नहीं एंड किया ये चैप्टर फ्लावर पे मैंने ब्लॉक कर दिया
मला सेम आपके
समझ गया
जरूर तो मेरे को लिखने था
ब्लॉक नहीं करना
नहीं बारी में छाती पे शो
फ्लैट है फ्लैट शॉट
ये भाई रियल वन मेरे को आया नहीं कोई ब्लॉक किया भाई तेरे को होता का पता मुझे होता पड़ेगा
पूरा करना है
अभी तो नहीं
और तो
साधु आसन की चैप्टर जो मैथ्स का एग्जाम साधु आसन का
24 जून
24 से स्टार्ट हो रहा है 24
टाइम टेबल भी आया
अब पता है सिलेबस भी ये बोलता बोला इसको तो और कौन सा स्कूल है इसमें 7 days हाँ 7 days कब है तुम्हारा सैटरडे दिला ना मुझे काम एक डेट सब करता है फर्स्ट जुलाई अच्छा फर्स्ट जुलाई यानी पोलर और ये साथ में चल रहा है साथ में सुनिए चैप्टर्स बोलो
ये कौन सी टाइप का
मैथ्स का
ये रैशनल
क्या होता मैथ्स वाले
रैशनल कंपाउंडेड्स के दोनों
चेंज किया क्वेश्चन
और एक्सपेंशन एक बस पहले दो
एक्सरसाइज
मतलब
इसमें ऐसे पढ़े
बस पहले दो
ना जी ट्यूशन टीचर को जी एक का करके दिया हमारे एक एक्टिविटी लगी है थी हो रही क्या बोलो
वो बताया नहीं बट अभी मैंने छह
अरे
गेमिंग चाहिए नहीं
ये और ये भी है
अरे और वो क्या है रैशनल
अभी मैं
मिस एक बार कर दूं क्योंकि जो क्वेश्चन में ये क्वेश्चन नहीं आता है तू बता रही है बड़ी फाइव नहीं कैंसिल हुआ चॉइस नहीं है कैंसिल अभी कैंसिल से 6 चैप्टर काटना है दूसरा आपके तकरीबन 7 लीगली और कंफर्म इतना ही है रैशनल पहले 4 कर वो समझती कि बच्चों पे लोड दिया है चीज की और क्वेश्चन का कम है बुला रहे हैं अभी बाकी और क्या है इंडेक्सेस वाले logarithms वाला डाउट गुड मॉर्निंग गुड इवनिंग
देखा कुछ बात करना है सिट सिट You have started with your schools?
yes
All schools started? Gulkris not yet?
no 10th
When? 10th June. The rest all of you had started. Now tissues till where did we reach?
finished parent time
Finish the chapter.
supportive tissue parent time we have to start parent time yeah we have to
We finished with animal tissues.
yes ma'am parent time we have completed
No, animal tissues we have finished.
yes ma'am
Animal tissues we have finished and plant tissues we have started. We have started with
supportive tissue
plant tissues we had started with meristematic. Are we done?
yes
yes ma'am
We were talking about parenchyma. When we talk about parenchyma, what did we learn? In the concept of parenchyma, what are the types of plant tissues? We have already studied. Plant tissues can be of two major groups. Plant tissues can be meristematic or permanent. This is what we started with. If it is a concept of meristematic tissues, what are some of the features of the cells? Meristematic cells are fast dividing. Meristematic cells are small. Meristematic cells have got a
no space between them
They don't
No space. What is the other word you write? No intercellular spaces. Meristematic cells have got a compact nucleus. They have got a well-defined nucleus. They are compactly arranged because they don't have intercellular spaces. Now, when we are talking about the meristematic tissues, what are the three major locations, three major types? No chorus singing at all. When we are talking about meristematic tissues, what are the three main types? Apical, intercalary, lateral. Give me one location of lateral meristems. Lateral meristems are below the bark on the inner region of the bark. We have talked about apical meristems, lateral meristems, intercalary meristems. Give me one location of intercalary meristems.
Intercalary meristem, in the roots.
At the junction of the root and the root hairs, okay. Branches. At the petioles, stalk of the flower. These are some regions. Always to remember, if we are talking about intercalary, what type of growth would the intercalary meristems bring about? Intercalary meristems will help in the growth of the branches. Intercalary meristems will help in the growth of the leaf. Intercalary meristems will help in the growth of the flower and the leaf. So where is intercalary meristems? Always to remember, at the petiole. I may also understand intercalary meristems may be present at the stalk of the flower. So intercalary meristems here. At the base of the branches, stalk of the stalk of the flower, petiole of the leaf, etc., etc. What was the function of the lateral meristems?
To provide the girth.
Increase the girth or the diameter of the plant. You will be asked this type of questions always. Name the type of tissue based on their function. And what was the function of the apical meristems? Helps in the primary growth. What do you understand by primary growth? Making the plant tall, height. Increase the height of the plant or the length of the roots. So this was about meristematic tissues. The major concept about meristematic tissues always to remember, the cells are fast dividing. But after a particular number of cells are already formed, certain cells will stop the process of division. And that is when these meristematic cells, tissues result in the formation of permanent tissues. They result in the formation of permanent tissues. Now, talking about the concept of the permanent tissues, talking about permanent tissues, when we are understanding the permanent tissues, what are the different types we have come across? Talking about protective, what are the different types of protective tissues we had studied the other day? Epidermis, do you remember?
Yes.
Or already evaporated? Epidermis, did we study or not?
Yes.
Epidermis, what is the location of epidermis? What are you going to write? Upper surface of the leaf, majorly upper or the lower surface of the leaf. Epidermis, what does this epidermis? We have been talking about the epidermis. So related with this word epidermis, what else should we remember? Cuticle. And related with the epidermis, cuticle. What is cuticle?
It's a wax coating of the wax coat.
The upper layer that is formed by the epidermal cells itself, or waxy coat. What was the function of the waxy coat to remember? What was the major function we understood?
Prevent evaporation.
Prevent, there. First bench, pervert. What was the function of epidermis we had studied? You were there last class?
Yes.
What was the function of epidermis we studied? Next.
Mitigate the loss of water.
To minimize the water loss by evaporation. Also, one more function we had studied. What was it? Protection we are talking about. What is it? Prevent unwanted substances to enter. Unwanted substances to enter. So these are the two functions you have to remember. Two functions for epidermis we had studied. What is the next we had come across was the bark. with relation to permanent tissues but protective, we had been also talking about the bark. What is bark? Which part of the plant is known as the bark? The outer layer of the stem, the outer dead layer of the stem, and that's the reason it is so rigid. Brown color is different, color may differ, but when we are talking about which is bark, certain plants may also have a whitish color bark, some may have yellowish, some may have brown. So when we are talking about the bark means what? The outer dead hard covering of the stem, that is called bark. The outer hard dead covering of the branches, bark. But this bark, we have studied few features about this bark. The bark is releasing a particular waxy substance known as the suberin. Underline all these words in your book. Suberin. What is suberin? It is the waxy substance released by the cells. And what was the job? The job was quite similar like the cuticle, the waxy coat. They do not allow excess water loss and they do not allow unwanted substances to enter, etc. etc. So now when we are talking about the protective functions, we are talking about the permanent tissues. So these were some protective tissues that we studied. Next is we are now talking about the supportive tissues. The supportive tissues. Which are the supportive tissues? This is how you answer in school. Yes? Just for a moment, I felt that I'm in a village school right now, where all kids would scream and shout to their fullest. Please don't ever try this. Now, when we are talking about parenchyma, the supportive tissues we understand for keeping our points in front to make other person know that I know it. We don't have to shout and scream. Parenchyma. Now, what are the supportive tissues we had studied? The three types of supportive tissues were parenchyma, sclerenchyma. Check that you know the spellings correctly. Parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma. Some features of parenchyma. Again, if I repeat, what should those points be that we already studied? If it is a type of a parenchyma cells, what about the cell wall? Thin. What about the cell wall? Thin. Made up of cellulose. Remember the features again that we described. If it is a parenchyma, the cells are tall cells or hexagonal, polygonal rather we say. If it is the parenchyma, remember the cells are polygonal. What is the meaning of polygonal? They have various different shapes. Talking about the cell wall, what are some of the features again? I talk about the cell wall. The cell wall is thin. And made up of what? Made up of cellulose. And what is cellulose? It's a type of a sugar. It's a type of a sugar. What about the vacuole? Do they have a well-defined vacuole? Yes. They have a vacuole. In certain cases, the vacuole can be a little bit smaller also. Then, are these cells living or dead? When we are talking about the parenchyma, they are living cells. I also mentioned this the other day that whenever we are talking about a concept of parenchyma being a permanent tissue, generally we always say that permanent tissues means what? They are not capable of division. But that means, should we always consider that they are all dead cells? Then why are we writing that it is living? Living in the sense they can still show the process of growth and maturation. That's the reason they are living. But can they show rapid or active division? No, they are permanent. They will never show the process of division. Active division they will never show. So living cells, that's why we say that the parenchyma type of cells are living cells. Do they have intercellular spaces in between?
Yes.
Check the figure.
Yes.
They have.
Yes.
Quite prominent intercellular spaces they have. So when we are talking about the intercellular spaces, what type of or are these present? Spaces between the cells, are they present? Yes, intercellular spaces are very much present there. Location, if I have to mention some location then, which are some location? Can you tell me 5 locations of the parenchyma? Number 1, fruit, pulp of the fruit,
Leaves.
the body of the leaf lamina,
Seed.
the seeds, yes,
The stems.
stem, the bulk of the stem, the bulk of the root. So whenever I talk about the bulk of the plant is all parenchyma. I would say yes, the seed, I would say the lamina of leaf, I would say the pulp of the fruit, This is all parenchyma. The stem and the root bulk, the root of the stem, the bulk of the stem, the bulk of the root, the bulk of the petiole, branches, all are parenchyma.
What's lamina?
Lamina means the broad body of the leaf. I talk about this is the leaf. This is the leaf. This is known as the lamina. This part is known as the broad base of the leaf is known as the lamina. Lamina of the leaf. You have studied no leaf structures. In which standard you studied leaf structures?
First.
Second.
Fourth. But that was not too deep. Yeah.
You had studied quite deep in the 3rd standard itself, the entire structure of the root, leaf, stem, flower. So now, when we are talking about the lamina, meaning the body of the leaf, the main broad, flat, green part of the leaf, and that's quite fleshy, in certain leaves it is quite fleshy, and that's all parenchyma to understand. Function, now that I talk about the function of the parenchyma, what are some functions of the parenchyma to always remember? Remember, we are talking about under the concept of supportive, so support to heavy. And I'm also using the word bulk. The major part of the stem giving the framework, support. Major part of the branches giving the framework. Major part of the seed, fruit giving the framework. So I can very much say that it provides support to the plant parts. Support to the plant parts. On top of that, if I consider the mango pulp to be parenchyma, it is storing certain type of carbohydrate. The beetroot and the carrot and the potatoes, storing certain type of food there. So when I'm talking about the parenchyma is also very much known for the process of storage. Storage of what? Storage of starch. Storage of different type of nutrients, majorly the starch. Storage of water, storage of starch, major function of the parenchyma. Correct? Does the parenchyma provide any protective function? No. Parenchyma majorly helps in forming the plant parts, giving shape to the plant parts because it is a major group of tissues there, or storage function. Let us now compare parenchyma with, one modified form of parenchyma that we understood last class was chlorenchyma. One modified form was chlorenchyma. Now, what is so special, or why the concept of chlorenchyma? I could understand. We already mentioned that the leaf lamina is also parenchyma in nature. But talking about the cells of the leaf, we will understand that what is so special in the cells of the leaf, which is not there in the cells of the stem and the cells of the root. A specialized cell organelle known as chloroplast. And this chloroplast is responsible for forming a pigment known as chlorophyll and the function undergoing a process known as photosynthesis. So when I talk about this particular relation, then what is chlorenchyma? Chlorenchyma is a modified, specialized form of parenchyma. Mention the special feature. What should you write? Cells contain large number of chloroplasts. Function? Produce chlorophyll and undergo photosynthesis. So these are the words to relate with them. So that was chlorenchyma. But I think in the other book also there is one more type. Parenchyma. Yeah, when I talk about parenchyma, say suppose I talk about in the cells of the lotus. In the cells of the lotus leaf, in the cells of the lotus flower, though these are plant cells, we would understand that look into the cells of these type of aquatic plants, lotus, Advaristaria, and many other types. We will come across that the cells have got the vacuole. It's a plant cell, it will definitely have the vacuole. But the vacuole is not filled with water and minerals, that is the sap. Rather, the vacuole is filled with air, making the entire plant lighter. So I talk about the big lotus. Did you ever see the lotus?
Yes.
On the pond, surface
Yes.
of the pond? It's quite a big plant. Never saw?
I am not in pond.
हाँ तो कहाँ पे देखा? सी में हाथ में देखा?
Means in bazar.
अच्छा. So when I talk about this particular lotus, it's quite a big plant. Huh? The leaves are quite spread out. The flower is also appears to be quite heavy. The flower appears to be quite heavy. But then talking about on the surface of the water, the amount of the water that it occupies, according to that, it is lighter. But if I talk about some few a bunch of those mango leaves and mango flowers of the same size, if I put in the water, same amount of the water, they will start sinking down. But that big lotus leaf and the flower blooming, but it never sinks down because every single cell is so light. The entire weight of a big lotus along with its leaf may be almost equal to some 5-6 mango leaves. In volume, it appears it's so small, no, that big lotus, and you are comparing 5 leaves of mango. But then you compare the weight would be more or less the same because here the cells are lighter, air-filled, and there the cells are mango leaf cells are all filled with the water, the sap. So that's the reason they are so heavy. That's the reason they are so heavy. So whenever we are talking about chlorenchyma, erenchyma, those of you who don't have erenchyma in your textbook, you will not read that because teachers will not give you question on that. Those of you who have erenchyma, I think Selena does not have erenchyma. Selena has, your book has. Your book has. So then you'll have to read erenchyma also, chlorenchyma, erenchyma also. Selena, you don't have to read erenchyma, that's not a problem if you know it. So what are the modified forms of parenchyma? Chlorenchyma, special feature, chlorenchyma, chloroplast present, and erenchyma, special feature, air-filled vacuole, the air-filled vacuole is there, and they provide light, they make the plant light. This is known as buoyancy to the plant parts, meaning makes the plant parts lighter. Parenchyma, now we start comparing with the next type of cell. What is the next type of tissue? Cholenchyma. We talk about the cholenchyma now. Cells, when we are talking about the cells of the cholenchyma, sometimes they are polygonal, sometimes they are tall cylindrical cells also, the cholenchyma. What about the cell wall? The cell wall is thick. We talk about the cholenchyma, the cell wall is thick. The corners have extra deposits of cellulose. Corners have extra deposits of cellulose. Corners have extra deposits of cellulose. So this is one feature always to remember when we are talking about the cholenchyma. When we are talking about the basic concept of cholenchyma, check here. Cholenchyma will generally have a feature like this. Talk about the cells of the cholenchyma. Where are these cholenchymal cells present? Now, where are these cholenchymal cells present? Cholenchyma is a type of permanent tissues. It will be near bark. Cholenchyma, what are the locations? Cholenchyma will always be at the base of the stem. Below the epidermis. It will be also present at this region, at the junction of the branches and the stem. Collenchyma is also present here when I talk about the petiole here also. Now remember, when I mark the locations, quite a number of these locations will more or less overlap with the intercalary meristems. Locations of the collenchyma quite a number of times will overlap with the intercalary meristem. So I'm saying, talk about the locations of the collenchyma. I talk about some branches this side. Yes, the branches, they have collenchyma here. I talk about here, yes, they will have collenchyma here also. The collenchyma is present here also. Then what is the major function of the collenchyma? Let us now first of all finish with the cell structures. First of all, talking about the cellular nature of the cells, the nature of the cells. Cell 1, remember this major point. The cell 1, is it thin? No, it is thick. And on the corners, they are additionally thick. At the corners, now this is the entire cell, the corners are additionally thick because of the extra deposits of cellulose, which makes the cell very, very flexible, makes the cell very, very strong. We'll learn why. Then what about the nature of the cells? Are they living or they are dead?
They are living.
Collenchyma, some are living, some are dead. They may be living or dead. That is what we write. Collenchyma, they may be living or dead. This is what you should write. If I talk about that, if they are present in the stem, they are dead. If they are present in the roots, they are, yes. But in the stalk of the leaf, at the base of the flower, they are living. Meaning, when the growth and maturation is still continuing, living. Already over, dead. So, what is the feature that you should write in the exam? What is the nature of the cells, living or dead? Intercellular spaces, do they have intercellular spaces? Not at all. They are compact arrangement of cells. Collenchyma, no intercellular spaces at all. Locations, now let us learn. Where are these present? They may be, again I would write, they are again present in the stalk of the flower. Then petiole of the leaves or the stalk of the flower, petiole of the leaves. We can also write stalk of the leaves and petiole of the same thing. We can also write at the junction of the stem and branches, at the base of the branches. Always remember, when we are talking about the function of the collenchyma very well gives support to the plant parts. How? It gives support to the plant parts and it also provides tensile strength. Provides tensile strength and flexibility. Provides tensile strength and flexibility. Now, all of you had noticed and witnessed that whenever there's a strong wind blowing, I think all of you must have come across how the plants keep on bending and shaking. No? So now they would be constantly bending and shaking, but easily do they break off? No, they don't. They don't. At the same time, I may also understand that, say, suppose those thick branches of the plant, children are hanging on those branches playing. Do they immediately break? No. Flexibility. At the same time, I may talk about a very tall tree. I want to plant those flowers. So what am I doing? I am bending or I am pulling those branches, plucking those flowers. Does it immediately break? No, it doesn't, because when I leave, it goes back. So this flexibility and the strength that the plant parts has, but of course now if the children are hanging and hanging and hanging, they will break. It's not that it will never break. If the force of the wind is too hard, cyclones and all, if I'm talking about, of course it breaks. But do they have a great degree of tensile strength and flexibility? Yes, they have. That is what we are talking about, the feature of the collenchyma. Provide strength to the plant parts, provide tensile strength and flexibility to the plant parts. So that is about the collenchyma, the nature of cells, the function, the location that you'll have to remember about the collenchyma. Remember the basic characteristics of the collenchyma. Remember, they provide mechanical strength, you are supposed to write, The similar function is there in your book also, provide mechanical support. And flexibility is the word that you will use, not exactly elasticity is a bit different concept that we understand. Now, next is we talk about the third type of tissues, sclerenchyma. Where are they present? What type of cells? Sclerenchyma, I think all of you are aware with the outer cover of the nuts.
Yes, ma'am.
And the dead cover of the fruits quite a number of times. So now these are all different types of sclerenchyma. Take a note for the location. Where did you write? Where are these present? The bark, the outer bark, sclerenchyma, dead it is. I talk about the husk of the coconut, yes. I talk about the outer cover of the peanuts, the walnut, dead, sclerenchyma. I talk about the husk of rice, yes. So anything that you can remember which is all dead, may be brown in color, may not be brown, not necessarily they have to be always brown in color. Sometimes they will be yellowish also, but dead. The outer cover of the maize, yes.
Outer cover of lychee.
That's also sclerenchyma. All the dead outer cover that you talk about. I mentioned husk of the coconut that you understand.
Yes.
So all these are,
What do we mean by the husk of rice?
husk means if you understand the rice
Brown
grain has
color.
got a brown color covering. So that is generally removed out and the rice that we buy is already polished. But from the farm when the rice is harvested, every particular grain has got brown cover. That is the husk. That is the cover. Because rice is a seed, it's a grain. It has got a hard cover outside. So talk about every particular seed, talk about every particular grain, they will always have a dead, hard outer cover. So take a note for the locations. Many locations, you already remember quite a number of them. Very easy to remember this. It is also present in the stem, some extra locations around the vascular bundles. Talk about the veins of the leaf. Now I talk about the veins of the leaf. The veins of the leaf are generally harder.
Yes, ma'am.
Sclerenchyma. What is the type of tissue here? Sclerenchyma. I talk about inside here in the stem, those conducting tissues are there. We are going to come across now the xylem and the phloem. The outer layer of the xylem and the outer layer of the phloem, this is also sclerenchyma. So these are two additional features that I'm mentioning. Let us talk about now the sclerenchyma, the third type of cells based on the same parameters. So I talk about sclerenchyma. Now these sclerenchyma are talking about the cell shapes. What are generally their cell shapes? These are generally spindle shaped. The cells are generally spindle shaped, tapering. They are generally tapering. If you talk about, see here, the cells are generally tapering. Dead cells, absolutely dead cells there. Talk about the individual cells of the outer covering of the pea, the outer covering of the walnuts, and the outer covering of the husk, etc., etc. Individual cells appear like this. Absolutely dead, hard, thick. Cell wall, extremely thick. They are evenly thick. The cell wall is evenly thick. Very thick they are. What are they made up of? Not cellulose, but now additional type of a substance or different type of a substance known as lignin or lignin. This is a very tough sugar that we understand, and this is present in the cell wall of any of these sclerenchymatous parts that we are talking about.
Only the sclerenchyma.
Only the sclerenchyma. What type of cells? Nature of the cells absolutely dead. Nature of the cells absolutely dead. Intercellular spaces? No. There are no intercellular spaces. But then talking about the cell wall has small openings, and these openings are known as pits. The cell wall has small openings. These openings are called pits. Openings are there. If I tell you, this is quite evident when we talk about the bark of a stem. Did you ever observe the bark? It is broken. No, it appears it's broken. It is actually the spits. And the entire, if you just scrap off, that entire cell wall is quite thick, no? So there, hundreds of cells are there, making the entire portion so thick. I'm here talking about only one cell. So remember, these hundreds of cells put together, they would generally give a texture to the bark that way only, broken type, which is actually because of the arrangement of the individual cell itself like that. There, no intercellular spaces, but bits are present. Location, if you have to write 3-4 location, what do we write? Husk of the coconut. Then we talk about the peel of fruits. We talk about the seed coat. We talk about the seed coat of the walnut and any type of seeds you mentioned. We talk about on the outer margins of the veins.
Why are the pits present?
For transport. For various different type of transport. On the outer surface of the bark, they are there.
So that they can release some substance.
Various different type of substances releasing out. And then we also may talk about the vascular tissue, the vascular bundles, the xylem and the phloem, the vascular bundles. Okay. So this is when we are talking about the different types of sclerenchyma. What are the different types of sclerenchyma and what are the different type of bundles now we are going to come across? Then what are the different types of vascular bundles? But so far, when we are talking about the supportive tissues, now that we are talking about the supportive tissues, what are the 3 types? Parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma. What is common in all these 3 types is, whether I talk about the parenchyma or the collenchyma or the only one type of cells. They are made up of only one type of cells. So all these 3 that we mentioned just now, these are simple permanent tissues. These are simple permanent tissues.
Ma'am, can you explain what is spindle shape?
Spindle shape meaning, see the structure when you draw sclerenchyma, we should always draw sclerenchyma this way. We always draw sclerenchyma this way where the tip is tapering and the center is broad. Tapering, spindle shape. So when we are, and then there are gaps in between like this. This is the major feature, structural feature of the sclerenchyma. But what is common in all these 3 types? What is common in all these 3 types is what is going on down here?
Divide.
Just writing something.
What is that?
You see, on my leg, I'm doing writing, spelling, and confusing.
What is that you show me?
This. Sorry.
On your leg
I have a habit.
or writing on the leg?
Practicing spelling.
Spellings on the leg.
Sorry.
That's a weird thing.
Sorry.
Now, when we are talking about this, what is the major difference now? We try understanding what is the major difference between simple and complex permanent tissues. Always you will be asked these questions. Simple permanent tissues are always made up of only one type of cells. What are the examples? Parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma. Now that we are talking about complex permanent tissues, we are going to come across xylem, phloem. Then how are they different? Whether we talk about xylem or phloem, we are going to understand that they are made up of more than one type, 4 types of cells actually. We'll complete with that question first, then we move on. Differentiate between simple, write down that question, differentiate between simple and complex permanent tissues.
Ma'am, what is the function of sclerenchyma?
Protection, support and protection is the major function. Support definitely, apart from support, protection. Sclerenchyma majorly provides protection. Write down this question. What is the difference between, differentiate between simple and permanent? No, what I said? Simple and complex. Differentiate between simple and complex permanent tissues. Differentiate between simple and complex permanent tissues, right fast. Simple permanent tissues are made up of only one type of cells. Simple permanent tissues are made up of only one type of cells. Example, simple permanent tissues made up of only one type of cells. Example, parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma. Parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma. Check the spellings when you write. Other side you write complex permanent tissues. For complex tissues you write they are made up of two or more types of cells. They are made up of two or more types of cells. Complex tissues, they are made up of two or more types of cells. They are made up of two or more types of cells. Example, xylem and phloem. Example, xylem and phloem. The third type that we are going to study would be conducting tissues.
And the epidermal cells come inside simple permanent tissue or complex permanent?
Simple. Simple. So now, when we are talking about the concept of conducting tissues, also known as vascular bundles. Conducting tissues, also known as vascular bundles. What are the two types? Let us study. The first is xylem. Let us take it. Comparison, always to remember. You are always asked many different questions on this. Xylem and phloem. Two types of vascular tissues, xylem and phloem. First of all, we are going to talk about their cell types, the xylem and phloem. What are their components? These are also known as components. Components here mean the cell types, what type of cells they are made up of. If it is the xylem, the components are trachees, vessels, xylem, parenchyma, and xylem, sclerenchyma or fibers. Xylem, sclerenchyma or fibers. Okay, function. You are supposed to remember the function. What is the function of the xylem? The conduction of water. Conduction of water and minerals. Conduction of water and minerals. From where to where? From soil to upper parts of the plants. From soil to upper parts of the plants. Yeah, soil or roots also you can write. From the soil to the upper parts of the plants. What about the direction that you should remember? In what direction does the xylem bring about the
Upward.
unidirectional? Unidirectional, always upward, right? Always upward. So you should always remember it is unidirectional from the roots to the leaves, always. So unidirectional, it always brings about transport in a unidirectional manner. Let us look into the xylem. Where is it present? The xylem is always in the center. See here, what type of migration, what type of transport? Only upwards. Unidirectional, always upwards. So talking about the transport of the xylem, this entire group of cells, what are the four types of cells we have come across? Trachees, vessels, parenchyma, fibers. Four types of cells ultimately joined together, clubbed together, forming a tube-like arrangement in the central region of the stem, root, branches. So if I have to understand where is the xylem tube present, where is the xylem tube present? Now this is my plant, and this plant has got, say suppose I understand, these are the roots of the plant, and this is the stem. I want to understand where is the xylem, where is the phloem. Where should we draw the xylem here? The xylem is always in the center. The xylem is always in the center. A tubular arrangement of cells, but this tubular arrangement of cells is always at the center. This entire tube, what is this tube generally meant for? It is meant for the conduction of the water and the minerals. The conduction of the water and the minerals. And what would be its direction? The direction of movement is always upward. Always upwards. Then where is the phloem located? On the outer region. Yes. If I have to draw the phloem here, I should draw the phloem this way. On either side of the xylem is the phloem. On either side of the xylem, another arrangement of tubular arrangement of cells are there. And what are they conducting? They are conducting the soluble food. But the soluble food in what different direction? The soluble food may also go in this particular direction also. The soluble food may also move in this particular direction.
Give food to the new leaves.
From one leaf to the other leaves. So what would be the direction? If I understand, it may go this way also, it may go this way also, and it may go this way also. In all possible direction, the movement can happen. Let us compare here the phloem. One of the components, the phloem has got companion cells. Then what? We have got the seed tubes, followed by the phloem, parenchyma, and then the phloem, sclerenchyma. The phloem, parenchyma, and the phloem, parenchyma or fibers. 4 types of components. Next is what? We are supposed to remember the function. What is the function? Helps in the distribution of food. Helps in the distribution of soluble food. Soluble food from the leaves to all parts of the plant.
On water also, no? Water and mineral.
No. Water, minerals only by the xylem. Don't write water. Distribution of soluble food from the leaves to all parts of the plant. So, what is the process that the leaves are undergoing to make the food? Photosynthesis. So, from the leaf, once the food is formed, do you remember in what form is the food made? Glucose. And this glucose has to now get dissolved in the phloem cells and then the transport. To first of all come across here, see for the phloem. What is the direction shown? Up also, downwards also.
Yes.
In your book, it is generally written bidirectional, but actually it is in all directions that you should always remember. It is in all directions, upwards, sideways, okay? Now, talking about the phloem structures, when we are talking about the phloem, the movement of the food is always in all possible directions, from the leaves to all parts of the plant. What are some of the cellular arrangements? Again, here also, all the 4 types of cells come together, resulting in the formation of a tube. So this phloem, since I have drawn the phloem on the outer region of the stem, outer region of the xylem. So remember, so it is the phloem, no? So generally I would understand it is the phloem majorly close to the bark. The phloem is majorly close to the bark, and as the plant becomes broader, the central region is majorly the xylem. Yes or no?
Yes.
The central region is majorly the xylem. I am making a cut in this entire stem. I am making a cut in this entire stem, something like this. I am stripping off this part of the bark. What am I supposed to understand? This part of the bark, when I strip off, make a cut out, from either ends like this, maybe I take out a small portion from the stem, from the bark. Which particular tissue is supposed to get damaged? The phloem.
Phloem.
Because the phloem is always on the outer side, very close to the bark. In such cases, always we understand that the distribution of the food is stopped. Distribution of the food is stopped, so that it is possible that the leaves start getting yellow. But still, the plants will remain at least for a few period of time, for at least 3-4 days. Sometimes even 7 days also the plant may survive. But quite a number of times we also understand that if we try disturbing the plant in such a way, say suppose now this was the plant, we did not take out anything from the surface of the bark, but what we had done is we had made a cut somewhat like this, quite deep. So the xylem is disturbed when we make the incision quite deep in the stem. Now what? The xylem is disturbed now. Now the xylem is disturbed. If the xylem is disturbed, just in 2 days' time, we get to see that the leaves turn getting yellow. The water supply is stopped, meaning everything stopped in the plant. Photosynthesis also stopped. But if the phloem only disturbed, the plant immediately does not die out, because the plant stores food in the form of starch, and with that starch the plant can go on for quite a number of days. Understood? So this is what we have to understand. Now the function. What should you write? Okay, we already mentioned the function. Direction. What is the direction that you should write? In all directions. In all directions. As I mentioned, in your book it is bidirectional. You can write what is there in your book also, but after when you study higher standards, you will write bidirection. That is what is always to be understood. Differences between the xylem and the phloem. Differences between the xylem and the phloem already we have written down exactly in this table there. Try answering these questions. Take out your notebook and try answering these questions very fast. See how many you are able to understand. Yes. Otherwise, without questions, how will you understand which answer it is? Start. When you write these answers, you will come across this feature you will have to remember. For the xylem, this is the only living group of cells. Rest all are dead. If it is the phloem, this is the dead rest all are living. Come on, what are these questions now? Xylem sclerenchyma is dead, Tracheids vessels dead, parenchyma only is living. Remember, if at all you are asked to write down the function of parenchyma, xylem parenchyma, phloem parenchyma. What is the function of parenchyma as it is? Parenchyma. What is the function? So remember here also. So here also for parenchyma you can write down storage. Storing of food here also you can write. Especially for phloem parenchyma. Phloem parenchyma.
Xylem food is not there.
Xylem is actually carrying water minerals. So especially for parenchyma, they help in support and storage. No? So that is happening.
And storage of water will be
Stand. For phloem parenchyma, remember the same concept applies. Storage of food here also. Start answering. Name the tissue present in the veins of the leaves. What to write?
Sclerenchyma.
Keep answering. You have a doubt, clarify. Start answering one by one. Which tissue responsible for storing food in potatoes?
parenchyma.
All of you will take down these questions. I'll give you 1 more minute. Complete this as homework and I will check next class.
Cell wall material means what we have to mention?
Composition of the cell wall, lignin or cellulose. Cell wall composition of the cell wall substance. Take down the questions, all of you. Answers you will complete at home. Complete this as homework. We are done with this chapter, tissues. The next class, few more questions of the book, and then we'll start with the next chapter. Flower, is that the chapter going on in your school?
Yes.
School reopened?
Yes.
All of you. Flower started? Complete. Flower is done.
For us, first two chapters are only coming for first 7 days.
So rejoice. So next chapter that we're going to start would be flights. Very simple, but few terms only to study. Done?
Yes.
Go through the chapter, find out the answers for this, and the textbook questions you will complete. Go through the chapter so that the next class when we solve the questions of the textbook also you should be able to answer them fast.
In the second lesson, we have to write the components of xylem.
Name the dead element of.
No, second lesson.
Name the elements, components. Elements or cells or components, the same thing.
For this, the answer would be vessels and fans.
Which
Or
one?
we have to, for the second last will be.
Name the elements of xylem, all the four. Name the elements of xylem that help in transport. Acha, no, that help in transport. Help in transport only the vessels.
Vessels.
Vessels and xylem parenchyma help in transport. So go through the text, find out the correct answers and complete your work. You have taken down all the questions, complete. Read the chapter. How is it going to school after so many days? Good, no?
Yeah.
Who is to write now? Chalo, fast. Good, no? All done, right?
Yes.